Welcome to today's episode, Culture as a Political Priority, the Ghanaian Experience. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into how Ghana, at the moment of independence, transformed culture into a critical tool for politics, identity, and nation building. Inspired by the reflections of scholar-composer Kwabena Nketia, we'll explore how cultural expressions became foundational in defining national pride and identity. But before we dig in, let's set the stage. Imagine Ghana, newly independent from colonial rule. Alongside a new flag and anthem, the nation's leadership recognized a vital need to cultivate a cultural language that would resonate with the people. This wasn't merely about entertainment. It was about instilling a profound sense of identity in the hearts and minds of citizens. Absolutely. When the leaders of Ghana emerged from the struggle for independence, they realized that the question wasn't just about political freedom. They wondered, how can we give our newfound freedom cultural meaning? During the fight against colonialism, various traditional symbols and performances had rallied people, kindling pride in the heritage that colonial rulers often dismissed. It was this realization that would shape Ghana's approach to nationhood. Exactly. After independence, Ghana's leaders sought to embrace all forms of traditional expression, regardless of ethnic origin, as part of a shared cultural heritage. That meant taking music, dance, oral literature, and the visual arts out of the private and hidden spaces and bringing them into the light of public life. And it wasn't merely symbolic. They integrated these forms of expression into state ceremonies, national celebrations, hotels, theaters, and clubs, making them visible and vital to the nation's identity. This redefinition of culture played a crucial role in helping the citizens connect with their roots and their nation's story. Now, alongside this cultural renaissance, there was also the challenge of Western institutional legacies, particularly in education. The objective was not to simply mimic these installed systems, but to culturally Africanize them. This meant rethinking institutions so they reflected the true values, history, and aesthetics of Ghanaian culture. Nketia emphasizes that establishing a new anthem or even a new flag wasn't sufficient. It required a deep embedding of cultural traditions into all aspects of political life. The state wanted to ensure that cultural tools were actively used to articulate a collective national identity. Take, for example, the traditional drum ensembles that play during state functions. In Ghanaian culture, drums often serve as speech surrogates, meaning they convey social messages, sentiments, and even emotions, just like spoken language. They're not merely background music. They create an atmosphere charged with anticipation and solidarity at political events. At a Republic Day ceremony, while people eagerly await the president's arrival, the drums announce their expectation. Imagine standing there as the sound builds, combined with welcoming poems and the rhythmic pulse of talking drums, providing commentary throughout the event. It's a direct way for the citizens to feel included in the political process. And this tableau of cultural engagement continued into highly official contexts, like the opening of Parliament. The ceremonial drumming and music was more than just tradition. It reaffirmed national values and cultural pride. This practice greatly liberated society from the psychological effects of colonial rule and instilled a sense of ownership and pride among citizens. Now let's pivot to discuss the phases of cultural policy post-independence. Nketia outlines several significant phases of Ghana's cultural policy that articulate the country's evolving relationship with its cultural identity. The first phase, marked by assertion, was about boldly claiming African identity and pride. This involved highly visible symbolic aspects of culture that signaled a departure from colonial rule. Following this assertive phase, the second phase involved affirmation and consolidation. Here, cultural choices were justified by drawing upon history and tradition, enabling the establishment of institutions like the Institute of African Studies and a national dance company. This consolidation facilitated a nurturing environment for the arts. Yet, after some time, as the society matured, this phase was quickly followed by a critical one. Ghanaians began examining not only borrowed foreign cultures, but also their inherited customs. They started to question which cultural practices still held relevance and which had become obsolete or counterproductive to contemporary life. Exactly. This critical phase allowed for a necessary reflection on inherited cultural practices, shaping a society that was capable of discerning what to keep or discard and what needed to adapt creatively. This meant that the assertion of cultural identity became more nuanced, understanding that not all traditions were fit for the evolving society. Now, let's explore what Nketia describes as the present stage of Ghanaian cultural policy. Here, we find an atmosphere of openness, with traditional cultures still celebrated but evaluated for their contemporary relevance. It's all about fostering creativity and innovation and looking at how Ghana can contribute to the global cultural landscape while also learning from others. Indeed, while culture remains a political priority, it must be balanced with pressing economic needs and developmental agendas. Nketia argues for funding and policymaking that support creators, cultural workers, and the arts as an integral part of life. It's about embedding culture within the broader economic strategy. Nketia places Ghana within a larger African context as well. He notes the importance of African humanism and the notion that culture should promote political consciousness across the continent. Festivals, dance, drama, and music can all be avenues for raising awareness about pressing societal issues, intertwining cultural expression with meaningful political discourse. And while we look at how politics and culture intersect, it's vital to note that in many countries, political activist groups utilize artistic expression to convey policies and engender discussions around social challenges. This shows that culture and politics are intricately linked, not only symbolically, but also functionally. Yet Nketia warns against the potential pitfalls. He emphasizes that the political uses of culture aren't unique to Africa, but emerge in societies with complex ethnic, class, or cultural divisions. If cultural differences aren't managed carefully, they can lead to divisive tendencies. Therefore, careful consideration is essential, understanding that while culture can empower, it can also polarize. Ultimately, viewing culture as a political priority is validated not merely by its utility in mobilization or propaganda, but by acknowledging a deeper truth. Human beings do not live by material needs alone. The arts, values, and spiritual dimensions of culture are just as crucial to the well-being of a nation. As several African leaders suggest, the ultimate aim of development, be it economic, social, or political, should be to enhance the quality of life. For Nketia, culture fosters these bridges of understanding within and between nations, positioning the arts as a vital force in nation building. Now, as we reflect on Ghana's cultural journey, we see that culture wasn't simply an afterthought after political work was done. It became a central arena where independence came alive in people's daily lives. From state ceremonies and drumming to critical debates about tradition and modernity, culture defined what it meant to be a nation in a post-colonial world. As we conclude today's discussion, we encourage our listeners to ponder these questions in their contexts. How are traditions being woven into public life today? What cultural practices are being asserted and which are being re-examined? Where is the space for creativity and openness within your communities? Thank you for joining us today as we explored the rich tapestry of Ghanaian culture and its political significance. Join us next time as we delve deeper into more stories at the intersection of culture, politics, and identity.